Hi everyone, welcome back to Quirky Pineapples. If you're new here, I'm Vina, a plant-based recipe developer and food blogger. And I'm back with another What I Eat in a Day. It's early, so I decided to start my morning with an iced coffee. And I'm trying my own cold brew for the first time. Last night, I just used my French press and brewed some coffee overnight. And I have to say, it's not half bad. I feel like it could be a little bit stronger, but it's not there yet. But it's pretty good. And then I just used some butter pecan syrup. Don't worry, obviously there's no butter in it. And my minor figures oat milk, which I really love for coffee. And I don't have a milk frother. I really don't like milk frothers. I had one and it was trash. It worked some of the time and most of the time it didn't. So what I use instead is just like an insulated mug. Like this is my little hydro flask. And then one of those blender bottle whisks. Actually, let me show you one of these little things, and I just toss it inside and give it a shake, and it froths the milk really nicely for me. I like a thrifty queen. If I don't need to buy something extra, I won't buy something extra. So yeah, it works pretty good. But yeah, I'm just starting out my day with my iced coffee, and then I'm going to eat breakfast. I don't drink coffee for breakfast. That's not like a thing for me, but I am going to make breakfast. So you guys will join me today making my breakfast, my lunch, and my dinner. And a bonus, someone had mentioned that they really would like for me to start baking in the videos. There was a video that I did ask about that, and I got a pretty good response. So in this video, I'm actually going to do a little bit of baking at the end of the day. It's Sunday, which is my day that I really like to have sweets anyway. So you get to join me for a little bit of baking as well. All right, so I'll see you at breakfast time. All right, so for breakfast, I've decided to have overnight oats. I don't have overnight oats too often, mostly because I kind of like hot oatmeal. But I'm testing a recipe for the blog. I already have a blueberry cheesecake overnight oats recipe, and now I want to try a strawberry cheesecake overnight oats recipe. Of course, by the time you guys see this video, this will already be live, but I just wanted to test it out and make sure that it's good. What you'll find is a lot of the things that I eat, because I am a food blogger, is that, it's coming from the blog. I'm usually testing recipes and trying to make sure that they're good. So I'm just dicing up some strawberries to put in it. Basically what I did last night was mix together my oats, my milk, some vegan cream cheese, and just like some sweetener. I think I used agave because I didn't want to use up my very expensive maple syrup. And then just left it overnight. Are you guys sensing a theme here? I've got, my cold brew brewing overnight. I've got overnight oats. And I even had to do a little bit of prep because I'm making a tofu dish later. So I had to freeze my tofu, and now it's like sitting out and thawing. But yeah, make things easier in your life when you're trying to eat a certain way. Prep things ahead of time if you need to. I don't just make things, on the fly. A lot of times I do have to prepare. I do work a 9 to 5, and it helps if I prepare things ahead of time. But yeah, but like I said, I do already have a blueberry cheesecake overnight oats recipe already online if you wanted to try that out. And then this one should be available by the time you guys see this video. But yeah, all right, so got my oats here, and I think I'm gonna taste it a little bit before I put the strawberries in, just to make sure it tastes right. Ooh, that's good. I will say it needs some more sweetener. We'll throw some more sweetener in that. Are you an agave person or are you a maple syrup person? I'm kind of both. I think it depends on what it is. Like if I want things to taste mapley, I'll do maple. If I really don't want that maple flavor, then I will use agave. Okay, let's see. Ooh, oh yeah, that's giving cheesecake vibes. I think I did about 3 or 4 strawberries. I'd say 3 probably would have been enough. But, if you really like strawberries, And these are fresh strawberries. I don't want them to go bad, so I may as well just throw in as many as I really want. And, ooh, okay, I know I'm technically supposed to just eat this as it is. It should be really good. Actually, let me try it like this. Oh, that's really good. That's good. But I do like to add things to my oatmeal. So I think I'm gonna throw some granola on top. Let's get some granola. It's all stuck together. A little bit of granola. I think that's kind of the nice thing about meals like this is that you can customize them, right? Make them how you want to make them. Just because my recipe is, you know, the oats and the strawberries doesn't mean that you can't add your own touch to it. Also, if you want it sweeter, make it sweeter, girl. It's fine. All right, so I'm going to enjoy this and then I will see you back at lunchtime. All right, you guys, so I'm back for lunch and I'm making a sandwich. Ooh, big surprise. Venus having a sandwich for lunch. So I usually really like to have my curry chickpea sandwich, but I've had a lot of curry lately and I am curried out. So I'm actually going to try a buffalo chickpea sandwich instead. I looked at probably about 5 different recipes for this and just kind of picked out the elements that I think that I might like. So I've just got some plain vegan yogurt, some tahini, buffalo sauce, of course, some salt, pepper, paprika. Of course, I've got chickpeas, a red bell pepper because I like the sweet flavor, and some cilantro. Like I said, we'll see how it works. I have coconut yogurt. I don't know if I would recommend using coconut yogurt, but I wasn't really paying attention when I was picking out my yogurt in the store and I ended up with coconut yogurt. This is great for yogurt bowls and things like that, but I'm hoping that the coconut flavor doesn't like come through too much for this, but we'll see. Even if it does, it will get eaten. So let's start with the chickpeas. I'm just going to put them in my food processor and blitz them a little bit so that they can break up. You could do this with a fork, but your girl doesn't feel like doing that today. Yeah, don't feel like doing that today. It's Sunday. Let's keep things simple. All right, I'm just gonna. All right, not gonna do that too much because I don't want hummus. So yeah, and then I have some cilantro. So I'm just gonna break down my cilantro a little bit. Doesn't have to be too fine or anything. Again, I'm just kind of trying this out to see if I like it. My husband will tell you I've had this really weird obsession with buffalo sauce lately. I put it on a lot of things and I'll offer, you know, something to him with buffalo sauce and he's like, why does it have buffalo sauce on it? Like, why are we doing this again? I'm trying to think, does he have anything he likes? He likes to put mayo on everything. So there. But yeah, I've been really into buffalo sauce lately. I don't know why, but I imagine this will be pretty good. So we'll see. All right, and then I'm only probably gonna use about half of this bell pepper. Let's see. Yeah, about maybe half. All right. So I think that's enough. I don't think I'm gonna do any more of that. I'll set this off to the side to freeze so that I don't waste it. But yeah, so pro tip there, if you buy a lot of things like herbs and aromatics, all that type of stuff, your onions, and you have a lot of it and you're not sure you're gonna be able to use it in time, just freeze it. All right, so I'm gonna take the blade out here. All right, I'll move that out of the way. And then let's get our chickpeas in here. I usually try not to overdo it. I don't want hummus, but just chopped up enough where I don't notice the skin. I used to do this thing where I will peel the skin off of each chickpea before I mashed it, and it would take so long. I don't like, why did I do that? But yeah, so now I just pulse it and then I really don't notice the skin at all. All right, so I'm gonna throw in my yogurt And like I said, hopefully I didn't make a mistake with the coconut yogurt. Let's see. I think I'm gonna do about 2 tablespoons of coconut yogurt. I'm also trying to lay off of the vegan mayo a little bit. Not that I think anything's wrong with it, but you know, trying to use some alternatives that might be a little bit better. And then I think I'm gonna use the same one. I'm gonna do about 2 tablespoons of tahini. Ooh, silky. 2 tablespoons of tahini. Oh, she's spilling the tahini. All right. Take care of that later. And probably about 2 to 3 tablespoons of buffalo sauce. Let's see. I want it to taste more like buffalo than tahini, so I'm gonna put more buffalo sauce in it. Again, I could be making a mistake, but we'll see. We're just trying it out. And if it turns out to be really good, I'll put it on the blog. All right, so that's that. And then I just use a non-dairy buffalo sauce. This one is the Primal Kitchen brand. It's really good. It's really, really good actually. So yeah, because not all buffalo sauces are created equal. All right. I feel like I don't know if I want all of that in there. Okay, mix it all together. Okay, looks pretty good. Smells pretty good. I guess we'll see. Ooh, I forgot. I wanted to add some smoked paprika because I just want some extra kick. I won't put too much. Okay, maybe I will. And some pepper. And then I usually wait to the end to add salt to things, because one, you want to see if you like your dish as is before you add any extra salt to it. You want to taste it first, see how it is, and then start adding things like the salt. Ooh, okay. Trying to decide, does it need more buffalo sauce? No, it does not. My cameraman and husband is shaking his head like, please don't put any more buffalo sauce. Okay, let's see. But it does need salt. I do think salt will bring out the flavors a little bit more, but I don't think it'll need a lot. So just a few cracks. Also, I don't really taste the coconut a lot. It's very faint, so should be okay. So all that I would probably add to this, if I could, is onion. I think that extra funk and aromatic would do it some really good, but it's actually pretty darn good. So let's see, I've got my bread. I like to use the Dave's Killer bread when I do have regular like wheat bread. Usually my go-tos are like ciabatta bread or like sourdough bread, just because I think I'm a bread snob. Is that a thing? Is that like a thing to be a bread snob? It probably is. I'm pretty sure some of you are out there and you're bread snobs like me. I like fancy bread. So, and like sourdough is apparently really good for your gut, as far as like digestion is concerned, which is something that I learned recently, which is pretty cool, right? Especially considering that a lot of breads aren't, just not great, you know? They're all right, but they're not great. So yeah, I found myself to be a bread snob lately. So I like this one because it's got like seeds and it's whole grain and all that. And I think it's got a pretty good amount of protein. Yeah, it has like 5 grams of protein in it. So that's actually pretty good. All right, so let's go ahead and put the sandwich together. Go ahead and get this all spread on. I'm gonna do a pretty good heap. Oh, this looks good. I feel like I need to start adding more like raw red bell pepper to things because it's actually pretty banging with this bell pepper. And then I wasn't sure how it was going to taste with the tahini. There's people out there that just love tahini on everything. I'm trying to get into it. I'm trying to become a tahini person. I think that's a pretty good amount. And some arugula. Also, comment down below if you're a bread snob. I'm just curious, like, is it just me? Am I one of those people? Am I one of those people? All right, let's see. All right, pretty good heap of arugula. And then let's cut our sandwich. Really good. There we go. Oh, it's falling apart. No. All right, it's a pretty good looking sandwich. Okay, let's try it. Arugula and all. Okay. Definitely gonna make this more often. Excuse me. Definitely gonna make this more often. It'll be a nice change up from my usual chickpea or curry chickpea sandwich. But this is really good. I like this a lot. Okay, now I see why there's so many recipes out there for buffalo chickpea sandwiches. This is really good. All right, so I'm gonna go enjoy my sandwich now, and I will see you guys back for dinner. All right, we're back and it's dinner time. I've gotten cozy because as cute as my little dress was, I don't want to cook dinner in it. So we've changed a little bit, but for dinner tonight, I really wanted to make my peri peri tofu, which is really delicious. And it's actually a really popular recipe on my blog, but I could not find the peri peri sauce. So I'm improvising a little bit. I'm gonna make more of like a chili oil tofu with some kale, some potatoes, some carrots. I'm really just kind of throwing things together, which happens from time to time. But yeah, so protein, got some greens, got some starch with our potatoes, and ultimately you have a well-rounded meal, and that's really all that matters. So I have an extra firm block of tofu that I already like ripped into chunks, and I'm finding that I like my tofu ripped into chunks instead of cut into cubes these days, because it gives a little bit more surface area for flavor, and I kind of like the nooks and crannies that it creates. And the little pieces that stick out tend to become really crispy when you bake it. So I'm just gonna do some basic flavoring. I'm going to do about a tablespoon of soy sauce. And like I said, this is me improvising. This is not one of my recipes from my blog, but if it's really good, then I'll put the recipe in the description box. And then a tablespoon of rice vinegar. And I pretty much always marinate my tofu with these two things. If I'm not using soy sauce, usually I'll use like tamari, which is just gluten-free soy sauce. And usually I'll buy that just because it's big. It comes in a bigger bottle. And then I'm going to add, actually, let's do the oil first, about a tablespoon of oil, because I'm going to coat this with some cornstarch and spices. And one, I want them to stick, and two, the cornstarch is actually going to make my tofu nice and crispy. So we'll do that. And then all I have here is some cornstarch with some garlic powder and some coriander. So I'm going to sprinkle that on. Actually, before I sprinkle that on, let me get my marinade soaking in. So let me grab my lid. Sorry, she wasn't fully prepared. And then I'm just going to give this a shake, just so that everything can coat and you can kind of see how it does that there. And then I'm gonna add my cornstarch and spices. Give that a shake. Give it a shake, just so everything gets coated in the cornstarch and all the flavors. And then I'm actually gonna let this just sit and chill for about 20 minutes, 10-20 minutes, so that the flavors can seep in, and then I'm gonna bake it. So let's put that off to the side and get our potatoes ready. So I've got just maybe like 7 like small yellow potatoes. Whatever potatoes you like probably would work just fine. I really like these golden potatoes because they're kind of creamy. And I'm actually gonna cut them into 4s. earlier when we were talking about lunch with our buffalo chickpea sandwich, and I told you that the husband likes mayonnaise, the first thing he asked for when I served him the sandwich is, can you put some mayonnaise on it? See, we all have, the way he's looking at me right now, we all have, you know, the thing that we really enjoy on our food, which is just to say, whatever you want to add to your cooking, add to your cooking. Don't let anyone shame you for liking mayonnaise too much. Oh gosh. All right, so cutting up our potatoes. And then let's see, how do we want to flavor these? Let's see, I'm gonna put them back in the bowl. And actually, it was a little watery. There we go. I'm gonna put them back in the bowl so that we can, I'm losing my potatoes. Put them back in the bowl so that I can season them. And like I said, I think I'm just gonna do some oil so they get a little bit crispy. So maybe just like a little glug of oil. I don't want to add too much because my tofu is going to have a lot of flavor. I want to do something pretty basic for this so that the flavors don't clash with each other. So yeah, just some garlic and maybe some salt and pepper. Some garlic, some salt, some pepper, just to flavor our potatoes so they're not bland. And then, like I said, those will roast in the oven with the tofu. Whew, I'm gonna sneeze. I feel like I have such a sensitive nose now that I'm getting older. Oh gosh, yeah. It's right there. It was right there, just embarrassing me. All right, so I feel like I have a more sensitive nose now that I'm getting older, where any little thing irritates me, right? Like too strong perfume, flowers, all kinds of stuff like that. And I really don't get it, but you know, it is what it is. I can't really do much about it. Besides, I don't know, maybe heavily medicate myself with like Claritin and things like that, which I try not to do, but yeah. All right, so now I'm just cutting up my kale. And I'm just taking that, you know, really deep rib out that it has. And this is just like the Tuscan kale, Dino kale. It has so many names, but I will say it's my favorite type of kale. I don't know why. I just like the flavor. The texture is really nice. And see, that sneeze is still marinating in there. Oh. Sorry, that sneeze is just marinating. All right, so just getting, I don't think I'm gonna use I'm probably gonna use all of it, and that's fine. But yeah, just getting the rib out of my kale, and then I'm just gonna cut it into ribbons, clean it, because it is very dirty, which is a good thing. There should be dirt on your vegetables. Just getting that thick rib out. Which I feel like the ancestors would look at me like, girl, put that knife down and rip that kale off of the rib. If I were making collard greens, I would do that. But I feel like I rip the kale a little too much if I don't use a knife. So I'm using a knife. Ancestors, calm down. If you have a special way that you can take kale off of the stem without ripping the kale to shreds, please let me know. Or if there's like a video out there you can direct me to. But I don't want to destroy my kale, so I'm using the knife. And then by the time we finish meticulously taking the ribs out of the kale, our tofu should be like fully marinated and ready to go into the oven with our potatoes. There we go. Yeah, I'm pretty much gonna cook all of this. I can already see. Like, what is with these little tiny ones? Oh, they're so cute. All right. I think I've heard people call this Dino kale, curly kale, Tuscan kale, so many different types of things. Either that, or they're really talking about 3 or 4 different types of kale, and I think they're talking about the same one. Let me know. All right. Now, let's see. I'm gonna take this And I think I'm just gonna like kind of lay them together, wrap them around themselves. There we go. Try to get them all scrunched together. That might be a little too much at once. Lay that off to the side. All right. Give it a roll and just chop it. I don't have any superior knife skills of any kind, so feel free to roast me in the comments about how I chop things. I'm a home cook. I'm not a chef. Not yet, at least. Maybe in another chapter of my life. All right, I've got my little salad spinner, so I'm just gonna throw that in there and do the rest. All right. Gosh, I just love a dark leafy green, which is so funny because I feel like when I was in my 20s, I didn't eat nearly as many greens as I was supposed to. And then there's something about, you know, going vegan or plant-based where you're a lot more mindful about these things. So you find yourself, you know, kind of adding things like this to your diet a little bit more. As a kid, I remember having greens and vegetables with pretty much every meal, especially like family gatherings. There would always be like a big pot of collard greens or mustard greens or something like that. And so I feel like I was just so much better about eating those types of things as a kid, mostly because someone else was in charge of what I ate in my diet. But I'm kind of glad that I've gotten back to some of these things. And you know what? When I was in the store looking for these, I saw the prettiest like bunch of collard greens, and I'm kind of kicking myself for not buying them. Because they just looked so good. They look so good. All right, so that's done. I'm just gonna sit that off to the side now so that I can get my tofu in the oven. And then we'll wash that in a sec. So let's see, I'm gonna switch this for this. Alrighty, and actually I'm gonna rinse my hands because I have dirt from my kale on my hand. All right, so my tofu should be nice and marinated and ready to go. It doesn't take a lot of time. I said at least 10 minutes. I'm just gonna dump that in there. There we go. Looking good. And don't worry, we're not gonna stop there. I'm gonna make a really delicious sauce to go with this, to kind of cook it in. And then I want my tofu to have enough space to like get heat and air and crisp. So I'm just going to spread it out, which might mean that my potatoes might have to go separate, and that's okay. But I really want to put them all on the same tray, but I'm not going to do that because I'm not going to sacrifice the deliciousness and the integrity of my tofu. So I'm going to roast my tofu first by itself, just so that it is the way that I want it. Actually, this chunk is too big, so I'm going to break that up a little bit. There we go. And this is going to go in the oven on 425 for about 20 minutes. I'm going to take it out, rotate my tofu, and then cook it for another 10 minutes just to make sure everything's all browned and delicious and soaked in. All right, let's throw that in the oven. All right, so now that that is in the oven, I'm going to clean my kale because it's dirty. So I'm gonna clean my kale first, and then I'll be back when it's all cleaned up. All right, so my tofu is done roasting in the oven. So are my potatoes. So now I'm just gonna saute my kale and my carrots. So just gonna use a little bit of oil. And I think I'm gonna start with the kale. I've got quite a bit here. I think I'm only gonna use maybe 2 cups worth. There we go. And then I'll probably freeze the rest. We've got our kale, and I'm just gonna let that break down. And actually I am gonna go ahead and throw in my carrots. Ah, what the heck. You never really have too many vegetables, right? And then I'm just gonna let this cook down. And while that's cooking down, I'm going to make my sauce actually. So my sauce, my little chili oil sauce, is gonna have soy sauce. So I'm gonna do maybe just a tablespoon. Oh good, I Just enough for a tablespoon of soy sauce. And then I'm gonna do a tablespoon of maple syrup just to balance out some of the heat from our chili oil. And I'm probably just gonna use the rest of that bottle. Okay. Let me give my, there we go, give it a stir. Don't wanna burn anything. Again, just letting that cook down and wilt in the meantime. All right, and then I am going to add about 2 tablespoons of the chili oil. Actually, let me rinse this off. I don't want to put maple syrup in my chili oil. There we go. All right, so I'm just gonna put 2 big heaping scoops of chili oil or chili crunch oil. And this is just the brand from Trader Joe's. I think it's actually, it has like onion and garlic in it, which makes it really good. But I just like using a pretty good amount of it because that's kind of the main flavor of the tofu. All right, so we've got that. I'm gonna put that off to the side. Fill that up. And then I'm just gonna give my sauce a whisk. There we go. And then that should be pretty good. Don't want this to be cooked down too much. I just want my kale to be like soft and carrots to be just like a little charred. I'll leave that alone so that I can do what it needs to do. All right, so my kale and carrots are looking pretty done. So I'm just gonna take it off and put it in to a separate bowl. Here's the moment where I remember how heavy cast iron skillets are. Having a little trouble there. All right. Maybe that's my sign that I should probably do some more lifting in the gym. Okay, there we go. Oh, that's good enough. All right, so got my kale and carrots that I'm now throwing all over my counter. And now what I'm gonna do is just finish cooking my tofu with the sauce. So I'm gonna grab my tofu. I'm just gonna take the whole thing in the parchment paper and I'm just gonna toss it into my skillet. There we go. Simple. All right, and then I'm going to lower my heat because I don't really want it sizzling too much, and then I'm just gonna pour my sauce over. Ooh, ooh, spicy. I can smell it. All right. It's gonna be like sweet and garlicky and oniony and all that good stuff. All right, like I said, this doesn't take long. And then I'm gonna turn off my heat. It's done, it's thick. So now let's plate it up. All right, so tofu's all done. All I've done here is separate my kale and carrots and all of that. So I'm just gonna plate it up now. I think I'm gonna start with my potatoes, which are all nice and brown and crispy. Like I said, some days you're just trying to get some vegetables and greens, some starch, and some protein on your plate. And I feel like today was just like one of those days for me. A little bit of the tofu. Ooh. Somehow I feel like there should be a sauce to drizzle over it, but the tofu has so much flavor. I don't think that's a good idea. All right, let's give it a taste. All right, get a little bit of kale, some carrot. Almost good. Okay. It's got everything it needs. I mean, if you're like me and you're a big fan of potatoes, throwing potatoes into a bowl is always a good idea. But yeah, super easy to make. Like I said, since it turned out pretty good, I'll put the recipe for this in the description box below. But yeah, all right, so I'm gonna enjoy dinner now. and then we'll be back for that bonus baking. And you'll see what I'm making when I come back. All right, so dinner time is over. Now it's time for dessert. I'm going to be making my vegan cream cheese Danishes. And I know, sounds like breakfast, but I like making these after dinner because they're really quick and simple and easy to make. I usually always keep puff pastry in the, not in the oven, but in my freezer. And puff pastry is one of those nice things that are accidentally vegan. So yeah, I always keep one in the freezer so that if I have like a sweet craving, then I can just go to making something like this really quick and simple. So all that you need is puff pastry, some cream cheese, which I'm just using like the Kite Hill brand. It's kind of my go-to cream cheese. I've tried other cream cheeses. I really just like this one. Cream cheese, I'm gonna add some granulated sugar just to sweeten it up. And I'm going to add some vanilla extract to give it some deeper flavor. We don't just want sweet cream cheese, we want some actual flavor in it. And I like this because most of the time I already have these ingredients in my house. So I just have my puff pastry that I let thaw out, and it's a little oblong. We're gonna make about 6 pastries. So usually what I'll do is sort of like give it like a gentle roll out just to try to make it look a little bit more uniform. And then it's no big deal. You can always trim off edges if you want it to look perfect. But if you watched any of my other baking videos, you know, we don't do perfect around here. It just depends on what it is though. All right, so using my handy dandy pizza cutter, because it tends to, you know, cut really good straight lines. I'm just gonna cut my dough into half. There we go, almost half. And then cut it into thirds, which usually there's like a thirds line on these already, which is pretty helpful. And then just to kind of fix that, I'm just gonna take that off. Don't worry, I'm still gonna bake it and eat it. All right, so now I've got my 6 squares. I am going to just use my same cutter, and I'm just gonna do a few scores around the edges of the dough. And all this does is create a divot so that the edges can rise around the filling. And I love, like, there's lots of stuff that you can do with puff pastry dough. So yeah. All right, so got that together. So what I'm gonna do next is, I'm still waiting for my sugar to dissolve a little bit. So I'm just gonna put a vegan egg wash around the edges of my pastry, which is pretty much just butter and maple syrup. Sometimes I might add some vegan milk to this, but I didn't see a reason to do it this time. And all this does is just caramelize around the edges to make them nice and brown. So I'm just gonna do that. Okay, so now those edges are taken care of, and now we are going to do the filling. And I'm just gonna toss a glop. That sounds so bad. Toss a glop. I'm just gonna put a little glop onto the middle of each pastry. I'm just gonna spread it out a little bit. I feel like the whole idea is when you finish your dinner and you feel like, oh man, I just really want something sweet to eat. So, you know, or you just had something salty, so you're like, oh, now I need something sweet. But this is really good because it's just really fast. All right, so just like that, we're done. And I'm going to grab my pan so we can pop these in the oven. How long and the temperature is going to vary based on the puff pastry that you buy, because ultimately you just want to make sure your puff pastry dough is completely baked. So follow the instructions on your puff pastry dough. So these are going to go in the oven probably about 15-20 minutes, and then we'll have a nice dessert for the night. All right, so pastries are all done. They're out of the oven. I put them on a cooling rack because I don't want the bottoms to get all wet and soggy from the steam. I'm just gonna put the glaze over the top of them, which again is a step that you don't have to take. If you just want to eat these as they are, you can. And then of course, if you want to drizzle it pretty, you can drizzle it pretty. If you want to drizzle it ugly, drizzle it ugly. And then I figured since I have fresh strawberries and I do want to make sure that I eat them, I'll probably throw some strawberries on top of mine to enjoy for the night. But yeah, these are probably one of the more simple of my desserts that I like to make. Just really easy. Let's get all that glaze. There we go. All right. And then I think I'm gonna go for this little small one here. And I'm gonna throw some strawberries on this one. Ooh, strawberries. I don't usually put strawberries on these, but you know, like I said, do whatever you wanna do. Okay, so I've got my dessert all ready to go. Ooh, I know these are good, so I'm not gonna try them on camera. I'm gonna go and enjoy my dessert and relax for the rest of the night. But thank you so much for joining me today. Hopefully everything that I made gives you some ideas on things that you can make throughout the week, or even just like a dessert that you can bake that's really simple. But yeah, hopefully this gives you some ideas on things that you can eat throughout the week that are vegan. I know sometimes we can run out of ideas, and it kind of helps to see what others are eating or what they're throwing together in their kitchen to make things easier for us. So yeah, the recipes for all of this will be down below. I'll put a link for you. Also, I usually will put a QR code on the screen for you to help out as well. And again, thanks so much for joining me today, and I really hope this helps. Have a wonderful rest of your day.